Wednesday night means it's behind enemy lines night. We've got the Washington Commanders coming up off of a huge loss for the San Francisco 49ers. It's time to turn our sights on the up and coming game, which is in Washington, traveling from West Coast to East Coast. Two teams that are going completely different directions, but there are some things that I want to talk about. I want to know more about the Commanders. What does the future look like there? And what does this game look like? Is there any chance for an upset? We're going to talk about that plus more next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it's a behind enemy lines Wednesday night. And I got my guy CeeLo with me. CeeLo, how you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, man. You know, the 49ers are looking really good. Still the number one seed. Tough loss for sure. But I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling probably better than Commanders fans are right now. I got to be real.
I was reading somewhere that you guys usually suffer one or at least one tough loss, a season these last couple of years. So maybe that was your one that you can kind of say, "Yep, get it out the bag and let's move on." But yeah, you're right. That was a tough. I mean, it started out kind of competitive, and then it kind of got away from you guys after a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely did. But, you can't win them all. Baltimore's a very good team. It's not like they got smoked by a terrible team. So,
right.
And hopefully that might be a Super Bowl preview. We've got two very good teams. So I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think so too. I like the way you guys are built. What I'm saying? I feel like you're built for the playoffs. And you guys got a couple of our dogs over there, right? Trent and Chase. So
yeah.
It's kind of weird, watching some of y'all, some of the way you guys are building than some of the individual players. It's a interesting way you guys have built that team with the Brock Purdy thing. So I'm curious to see how it goes, man. Because if he didn't get hurt last year, you never know, right? So we'll see.
Absolutely. Well, I got some questions about Washington, and really I'm curious about the future here because new ownership, which is great. You finally got Snyder out of there. You got some new ownership. But basically everything around the team stayed the same. And that makes a lot of sense because when you have new ownership, you want to assess. You don't just come in and clean house. You got to assess. You got to figure things out. And when you look at the situation there, Riverboat Ron's been there for a while. We're going to talk about that whole situation in a minute. But interesting things happening at the quarterback position. Sam Howell has been the starter for a majority of the year. He's had some good games. He throws for a ton of yards, but he also makes a lot of mistakes. Young player, but it seems like young players in this league don't have time to develop the way that they used to back in the day. And as of now, it seems as if he has been benched for Jacoby Brissett, who's a veteran, really a backup in this league. I don't think that there's any future for him as a starter necessarily, but he is starting this weekend. What are your thoughts overall of this? Does this mean that the Sam Howell experience is done and they're going to look to replace him? Is this, hey, we're trying to win this game? Is it them trying to lose games? Like, what the hell is going on? Why now? This doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, man. You and I both. So,
well, good.
So yeah, I think, Ron Rivera is still the head coach. He's still trying to win games.
Okay.
He initially, well, let's say for the majority of the season, he's been very pro Sam. He rocks with Sam. He is very understanding of ups and downs of a young quarterback. So it felt like Sam's going to be able to just kind of work his way through it. Let's get a full year of Sam, move on, or evaluate. But the tune changed, and that's been Ron's thing over the last now 4 years. He is very much a kind of go with the wind kind of coach. He does not stick to his guns on almost anything. So he's gone from pro Sam to let's bench Sam. And the issue in the good question, because the issue is why bench him? We're a 4-win team. the team that they are what they are. It's not really, about the offense per se. I mean, Sam is Sam, but go back and look at the other side of the football. The defense is like 32nd in like the majority of the stats that matter. So it's a team sport, and the defense is really underperforming. So in my opinion, it's not about Sam or Jacoby. It's really about the team and getting ready for next year. So I would have loved to see them finish out with Sam, because why not? And plus, you don't want to mess around and win one of these games. So you know what I'm saying? So like, and I get it. Football, I'm thinking future, right? Football players don't think like that. They want to win every game. So I'm not saying that, but as an owner with a quote unquote lame duck coach, he's making decisions that may be, against what your best wishes for the future. So all that to say, it's a confusing situation, but it's understanding. Clearly, the kid is hit a little bit of a rookie wall, if you want to call it that. EB is under sort of a Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. He's under a little bit of a kind of a question mark kind of year. So to see Jacoby perform the way he did in the times that he came in the game, it probably let EB know that, see, my offense isn't that bad, so he probably gets a little vindication. So it's some positives that come out of this, right? You got Jacoby that's going to be a free agent, so good for him. You got EB is going to be looking for another job potentially, good for him. You have receivers or say certain players that are looking to hit certain marks like milestones, like Terry McLaurin. He was not going to do that under Sam, so now he could potentially get the 1,000-yard mark or more under Jacoby. So things like that's some good positives about it, but it's week 17. Like, let the kid finish out. Let us secure that top 3 pick, and let's move on. That's just kind of how I see it.
Well, right now, what pick did the Commanders have?
We're at number 3, but we still
number 3.
If we lose these next 2 games and Arizona wins one, I don't know who they play, but if Arizona wins one of the next 2, we get the number 2 pick.
Arizona plays Philadelphia and then Seattle, I think.
So it's possible, I mean, Philly most unlikely, but Seattle, I don't know. And the division games are always tough. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Number 3 is a good place to be, though. It really is. I mean, if you want a quarterback, it's a good place to be. Oh, man. I'm also curious. Like, I look at Washington and you see the Russell Wilson stuff happening right now. You see Justin Fields might be available. Like, do they go that route? I guess it really comes down to the head coach and what he decides and all of that. So we're getting maybe ahead of ourselves as far as who's the quarterback's going to be next year. But what we do know is it's probably not going to be Sam Howell. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. A lot of these fans are having conversations about, because there's a lot of, so Sam has a big following. Like a lot of folks like Sam coming out of UNC. If you're a ACC guy or whatever, or kind of a Carolina guy. Great career in UNC. Apparently, he was a potential pick, but kind of slid down, obviously. So they wanted to see him succeed, and so you will have a few folks that are trying to figure out scenarios where maybe Sam can still have a chance. But the bottom line is he's on a rookie contract, 2 more years to go. He's probably going to be here anyway, because why not, right? He has starting experience. So I do think I can see him sticking around at least as a backup, or at least compete, depending on how he does in the offseason. So we may not have seen the last of Sam, but for this season, he's probably done, minus injury or something like that to Jacoby.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's get to some super chats here. Dave says, "Come on, Jesse, not like you to drive in between." All right, fair enough. Brother Bob, he's my resident troll. He normally is going to talk a lot of trash about the opposing team. He says, "Nails, you would take away my fun in supers. Talk draft." And then he says, "Sorry, not sorry, CeeLo. Tonight's going to be rough." Nicholas says, "First time dad here, 5-month-old daughter. Seeing the content with you and your son is very welcome. And even my wife thought it was awesome. That being said, it was one loss. Let's stop the panic, faithful." So I'll let you know, CeeLo. I had my son on for the first time. He's 9 years old, but he's a Ravens fan. So I'm a Niners fan. He's a Ravens fan. I'm like, you know what? Well, let's make a video together. You can talk about the Ravens, and I'll talk about the 49ers a little bit. And it was cool, man. I think it was received very well. A lot of people really enjoyed it. So
Awesome. Yeah, man.
uh,
I think, I mean, to his point, yeah, you don't dwell on the one loss there,
no, no.
but but it makes you wonder with is that a blueprint on how to beat the 49ers, or was it like a fluke? You know what I mean? Like I saw that, the tip
I
passes
think
was
it's definitely a
unfortunate.
blueprint.
Okay.
Listen, I
Okay.
think it's a blueprint, but here's the problem, CeeLo, for the NFL, not the 49ers, is that not many teams can execute on said blueprint. So unless they play the Ravens again or possibly the
Right.
Browns, which isn't
Right.
likely, most teams aren't going to be able to execute on it. And so it's like, okay, well, now the 49ers can get away with doing what they've always done, and that's going to be tough for most teams to stop. So
I guess all you can think about, when you put it in context, the teams you got to worry about, right, is playoff teams, which would be NFC, which is the Eagles, maybe Seattle if they make it,
Dallas, Seattle,
Dallas, so
Rams.
a few teams out there that you have to, I guess, consider. Philly's defense is kind of so we'll see. But
Yeah.
I just watched the game not too long ago, you guys' game. That definitely was a tough. That was a tough game.
Well, yeah, definitely. Brother Bob says, CeeLo, Jesse will talk drafts, so you have a good convo.
Hey, you guys know Caleb Williams is from this area, so it's a natural
Oh,
fit. I'm just saying.
is that who you would want? Would you want Caleb Williams out of all the quarter? Is that would that be your preference? Like, let's say you had the first pick. You're the GM. You have the first pick. Are you going Caleb?
I'm probably going Caleb. So if I'm the GM, which we'll never know like what happens, but like I gotta ask Caleb some questions. Like I got some questions, man. Like Caleb, like what's going on here off the field? The off the field, like the personality stuff.
Yeah.
DC, as crazy as it sounds, this team hasn't won in forever, but this is a football town and a professional football town, and so like he's going to get like all kinds of scrutiny, the first loss or the first whatever, and can he handle that? And you know what I'm saying? So if he can pass that personality test, whatever that may be, yeah, I'm taking Caleb. And if Caleb isn't the guy, I'll Drake May is my next my next favorite. So
Man, I feel like Caleb. I don't know. I haven't really studied the quarterbacks yet. I usually do that around March just to get a fresh look at it. But when I look at Caleb and just his style of play, Bieniemy would be a really good coach for him, being that he was around for the whole Mahomes thing. You know what I mean? So, and
man,
not and Bieniemy's likely not going to get promoted within and be the head coach next year. I would think that would be a slim chance of that happening. But gosh, he would kind of be the perfect guy, just being that he was there for the Mahomes development piece.
yeah. So I've been for my Twitter fans, I posted something earlier today about that, and people are already calling the enemy like the worst OC ever. I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you not see what this dude was doing for the last 3 years before he got here? So, and I know people give him a little bit of a issue with the
Kansas
Mahomes
City's
thing.
offense doesn't look great this year, and not a lot's changed from
You see what
last
I'm
year to this
saying?
year,
You see what
other
I'm
than
saying?
Bieniemy. So
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, Bieniemy is so. I agree with you. Bieniemy would be great with Caleb or with like a Jalen. Like there's a couple of QBs out there that he would be very, I think, perfect match. I think he absolutely deserves an interview at least. I'm not saying he deserves
for
to be a
sure.
head coach, but he deserves to interview because he was in a tough situation here with the very with the young raw quarterback, and so I do think that he deserves a head coaching opportunity somewhere or at least an interview. But yeah, here I'm not sure. It depends. But I like your thinking, man. Caleb and plus EB may be kind of nice.
Yeah, might be a good match. Fish and Chip says CeeLo talk Shanahan because some of us know.
Oh
What is your thoughts on
God.
Shanahan, man? I got you. I know you got strong feelings on this one. You have to.
So Shanahan's cool with me, man. He was in his you opened the show up about a new owner. I mean, Shanahan's a victim of the Snyder effect. He came here hot shot from Houston, working for his dad. He developed and designed an offense that was perfect. That was perfect for RG3. Minus the injury, I mean, you never know what would have happened in that 2012 year. I mean, they were rolling.
They were
And
rolling, yeah.
and so for me, Shanahan's one of my favorite coordinators, you can tell me about how he is as a head coach, but as a coordinator and as just an offensive guy, like just talking about his specialty, like I've never seen someone who can, make football easy for his QB. Like he makes it easy for everyone on the field. And that's the point of coaching. All these coaches try to like force feed these styles onto these players. And like you finally have a guy who's like, I'll do whatever it takes to get these. I mean, I have a basic West Coast is his thing, but outside of that, he is going to do what it takes to make sure you're successful, i.e. Robert Griffin III, Matt Ryan, and now, Purdy, and guys that are, you can question whether or not these guys are like really good outside of Shanahan. So that was kind of where, that's how I feel about Shanahan. I rock with Mike. I rock with Kyle. Mike, different story. Papa Shanahan, different story. but I rock with Kyle.
Man, that was, when you really think about it, that's that coaching staff. Maybe, I mean, not as much of an all-star cast is what you had in the 90s with the 49ers
Right.
and all those coaches that came from there. But damn, very good coaching staff. I mean, up and down that coaching, there was studs everywhere. I mean, you've got like 4 or 5 head coaches from that coaching staff alone in the league right now. That was insane coaching staff.
It was, man. If we had a glimpse of competency above, the GM, and you would have thought that someone would have been like, you know what, this guy can really coach or whatever, and then you would have done something. But hey, here we are. So,
Brother Bob says, "Hey, but I'm here to remind you that y'all suck. Niners 44, Commanders 9." I feel like CeeLo would be fine with that. I feel like you'd be fine with that, though.
So you're right. I want to lose. However, like all these last couple games for us as fans, we're the ones that really want to lose. We're like, I just want the offense to look competent and still lose. You know what I mean? Because our defense is so bad, it's nothing the offense can do. So it's more like, okay, if we can lose 45-42, I'm cool. You might get nervous because your defense gave up 40 points, but yeah, if the offense can look pretty confident, I'm cool.
Is Robinson going to play this week?
I'm not sure. He was out on the field today doing individual drills, but I don't know, man. I don't know if he's going to be shut down for good or if they're going to. I don't know. They just called up, not called up, but they just re-signed Jared Patterson. So you may not know him, but he's a local kid. Played at Buffalo for school. For college, and he's been on the Chargers practice squad. Got cut. They picked him up. So that makes me feel like they don't plan on playing B-Rob. They'll probably bring him up, or as an insurance kind of thing. And they'll go with the, Antonio Gibson and Williams and Chris Rodriguez from Kentucky. So,
and I like Robinson a lot. I think he's good. And he's a throwback style runner too. That's what I like about him.
I think he has like 400 yards receiving too. Like no one saw that coming. That's the one thing about the offense that actually ended up doing well was B-Rob's development. He can actually catch the rock.
That's awesome. Dave says, what do you think about the name change to the Commanders?
Once again, the fan base is split on the. Well, in my opinion, it's a very vocal minority. So I think most fans are exhausted about the name thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think most fans are just like, we've already been through 2 name changes, 2 more than 99% of the NFL teams out there.
Yeah.
Who wants to go through a third? So for me, I know the Commander's name is kind of icky, but I just want to win. Like,
who cares, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, we could be called whatever you want to call us, but when you're winning, it's all of a sudden it just feels right. So making these changes and stuff like that during this like period of downtime to me is not like realistic. It's not even a good idea. Just let the name stick. Keep rolling and trying to build a winning product. And trust me, people wouldn't care what's about Commanders. So that's how I feel. I think that's how.
And who's replacing all this fan gear that's being bought? If you're changing names every other year, like what the hell?
like that's big expensive. A lot of us say we're gonna stop buying any gear until they like officially say no change, because you don't want to keep buying Commanders gear. You know what I'm saying? So
it's awful. Brother Bob says, CeeLo, what quarter the Niners stumped to end the game first? No, it's not going to happen in the first quarter.
Hey, listen, y'all, you got a wild card over here. So Jacoby Brissett, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen if he starts to light it up. He's not going to just like lay down. So I think you're going to have to work a little bit for at least for I'm going to say 2 quarters, at least 2 quarters.
2 quarters. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Dazza says, are Howell's turnovers and sacks on him or the O line? It's really bad. Or the O line being really bad. What do you think?
Right. So once again, it depends on who you ask. So I do think our O line isn't very good. Wiley, everyone knows about the right tackle from Kansas City. He was touted, him and that line touted for 0 sacks in the playoffs, or at least he was, and then 0 sacks in the Super Bowl. So we have some issues on the O line under Sam. Funny you asked that because when Jacoby came in, all of a sudden, it was like he had all day. Right now, granted, he's a backup, so they didn't really game plan for him. So maybe they were playing like kind of a little bit of prevent, but it's to be determined. I really think EB's offense, doesn't require 5 all pros. You know what I'm saying? Like I think he's a quick passing kind of coordinator. He believes in kind of getting the ball out, to his playmakers in space, and so. You just got to have an O-line that's decent and pass pro that can get out and run and, run block, or let's say block for screen, stuff like that. So by, like PFF standards, we're like a middle of the pack offensive line. And, you do the eye test under Sam, we're awful. So to answer his question, a lot of it is Sam, man. Sam is back there indecisive. He makes them look so much worse than they actually are. And so I really think a lot of that is on Sam.
Holding the ball a lot, yeah, and it happens. A lot of young players will do that.
Exactly.
Brother Bob says, CeeLo, though, serious question. What's worse, DC or the Commanders?
Man, DC's bad right now, bro. you ain't lying.
DC, perfect. Oh, man. My guy, Red Zone in the Lab, says, I need my GM to get me a football players that play at a high level. Jesse, we're not thinking about no draft. Chase Young is going to blitz from the safety spot. Man, he's LT Sunday. All love, Jesse. CeeLo, this is a trap game. You don't believe that, though. I know you don't believe that. That's not from that was from the heart. That was from the heart.
Oh, that's my man's Red Zone.
Nice job, Deuce. Nice job. Thanks for tapping in, brother. I appreciate you. Dave says, I've witnessed the Redskins fans not watch anymore. I'm sure there's a lot of old school fans that are kind of tired of all this going on right now. They got to win. It's hard to keep fans engaged when you're not winning. So that's really what it comes down to. You just got to start winning again. People will come back. It can happen to anybody.
Agree. Yeah.
All right, bro.
Look, I think people were really excited about the new ownership, though. So we'll see if that helps or if that's already died off.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we talked a little bit about the future of the quarterback position, but what about the front office? I mean, do we expect to see a GM change? I think we all agree that Riverboat Ron is likely gone. So 2 questions. First question is there going to be a change at GM, do you think? And then the second question is, who do you want your head coach to be?
So yes, there is, because if you didn't know this, we have what they call a coach-centric kind of system. So Ron is the guy. He's like the president of football operations, for lack of a better term. So he does have a GM that works for him, Martin Mayhew, who was a 49ers guy, by the way.
Yep.
Yes, there will be a GM change, 1,000%. Now, will they keep like a Martin, or will they keep we have a Marty Herney, who was a guy from Carolina, also in the front office. They may keep a couple guys. I just highly doubt it. I think they're going to wipe out the whole freaking front office. And I think they're going to go with, a more analytical approach to the game. If you believe the owner, who was the owner of the 76ers, who's a big analytics guy, he hired Daryl Moyer for the 76ers. So if he goes that similar approach, I think it's going to be someone of that ilk, like one of the guys in Philly. I can't think of his name right now. So if they go that route, Ben Johnson, Callahan from Cincinnati. Do they go defense again? I doubt. I think they go offensive this time. Yeah. So
especially if you get a young quarterback, you got to get an offensive minded head coach.
I agree. I agree. So it's going to be interesting. And the one thing I was telling some folks here the other day, be careful what you ask for, man. Some of these coordinators are coordinating some really, really talented quarterbacks, right? The question is, can these guys come here and take a very raw, somewhat raw, like Caleb, or less raw Drake May, and can they make him into something special? I don't know. Golf, to me, Golf is a very good quarterback. I know people don't remember him in the Rams, but he literally went to the Super Bowl, under McVay. He's not a bad quarterback. You got, Tua down there in Miami. You got, all these guys are coaching, Burrow and Cincinnati. You got they're coaching top 3, top 5 pick kind of guys. So you got to make sure they can do the same thing here. Whoever's going to be the quarterback.
Yeah, I like Ben Johnson a lot. I think schematically he does some incredible things. And he does. I mean, he's got some good players, don't get me wrong, but I think he's getting the best out of them. And I think that I think I know Lions fans are like, man, we don't want to lose Ben Johnson. He's been a wizard here. And I think Ben Johnson's going to be a hell of a coach. But if I'm Ben and I've got the option, I'm going somewhere where the quarterback is established. If I can go to, I don't know, Buffalo or
you think he gets fired?
Chargers. I think there's a possibility. I think now what's interesting is what's happened here at the end of the season. They've kind of saved things a little bit. I think they're actually going to end up winning that division. I do. And so that's going to make things interesting. But if they get bounced in the first round or the second round, I do think they're going to move on. Now, if they make a Super Bowl run out of nowhere, okay, McDermott's probably going to stay. But it was iffy there for a minute. And if McDermott is gone and Ben Johnson can go to a team like Buffalo with Josh Allen or like the Chargers with Herbert, I think that would be the better option. But I also think if you have a chance to get a quarterback of your choice, that's not a bad option either. I would rather go there than, let's say, I don't know, Carolina, where the quarterback's already in place and you don't know if he's any good.
What about Chicago and Justin Fields or whoever they draft?
Chicago's a good spot too, because they're probably going to get that number 1 pick. And you can decide if you want to move on from Justin Fields or not. And if you move Justin Fields, you're going to get like a 2nd round pick as well. So,
yeah. He's going to have a pick. He's going to have his pick of the litter, wherever he wants to go. It sounds like, as long as he doesn't have a horrible interview or something like that. So
I think so too. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And Ben Johnson, man, I'm excited to see where he goes. I do think he's going to be good. But I agree with you. I think that it's tough, and no matter who the coach is, you just don't know how long the leash is. You don't know how long they're going to be there for, how much time they're going to be given. They're going to be patient for the first year, but after that, things can get really dicey. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, man, I'm excited, man. I'll for the first time in a while, Deuce or Red Zone Lab, he always says, "I can't lose. I can't lose. I got a new owner. One of my minority owners, Magic Johnson, who's a winner.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have a top 3, top 4 pick. Like I can't lose. Like this is a win-win situation. Like so I'm good with it. I just want to make sure that the only thing that I didn't, and I said this before, the only thing I didn't like about this year is I probably would have just fired Ron Rivera a little while ago, right? Because he's just a I mean, lack of a better term, like a dead man walking. You know what I'm saying? He's just sitting there coaching for what, right? And so if you have him still making decisions that he's trying to do things this year, he's not looking in the future. He's trying to win a game on Sunday, right? So I feel like coaches like that, that's why you move on, because it's not about, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's more about, let's evaluate the rest of this team. Let's go and focus on the future. You can win games too, but I want to do things in a different kind of way where Ron is not really in that frame of mind. So that's the one thing I wish they would have done, because I really feel like the team at least would feel different, knowing that like an EB is going to be, it's like a temporary or interim head coach, something like that. So,
yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it's an interesting thing that's at hand, because one, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but when you're a new ownership group, you kind of just want to assess things. So I understand it from that standpoint. Plus, Ron does have a lot of respect around the league. So there's that plays into it. He's a good guy. He has a lot of respect. So I'm sure that plays into it. But to your point, you have the perfect interim guy in the enemy who, don't you kind of want to assess him? You know that Ron's not going to be your head coach. Maybe Bieniemy can be. So assess him for 5 games, see how that goes. So I don't know. I can see it both ways. I really can, but
Yep.
I would have probably done the same thing. I would have tried to figure out if Bieniemy is a viable option for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, like the coach is a defensive coach, head coach,
Mm-hmm.
and the defense is literally like the 30 to 32nd ranked defense in most categories. Like it's unacceptable. Like the one thing you really are good at is they're failing. And so the offense is the topic of conversation because it's really interesting and that everyone likes to talk offense, but it's not about the offense. We literally we're like 10 rankings above what we were last 3 years in offense. Like literally we are going, like we're in the right direction. So to me, it's not even about the offense. So that's why I think I would have let him go. But anyway, I understand both sides to your point as well. What's the rush? Yeah, I can see both sides.
The Washington them they. That's the new team name?
I've heard Commandos. You probably didn't watch the game, but the broadcast last night, the guy called them the Commodores. He said it twice. It was hilarious. I don't know who
Nobody
it was.
knows.
It was the color commentator. It was hilarious.
Commodore is great. All right, man. I am curious about some of the up and coming players there. It's interesting because they went and traded their premier edge rushers and look to get younger and see what's going on there. Got some good draft picks in return, but there's always a player on every team that most of the league doesn't know about. A player that the internal fan base is excited about. Young player, usually up and coming player, or maybe it's a veteran that's had a resurgence. But when I look at the Commanders, I want to know, give me one player that is a bit of a difference maker or a player that you're excited about their future that isn't a big name around the league.
Okay. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I would say one of the more, at least in from the fan base perspective, one of the guys is a hot topic going into this season and entering his last year of his rookie deal, 7th round pick safety Cam Curl.
Okay. I like it. This is good.
Yes, Cam is a guy who went to Arkansas, decent prospect, obviously picked later on in the draft. And he ended up like being just really fitting in well in this Jack Del Rio defense, right? They're more of a 5-2 defense, and so he plays a lot of Viper. He'll come down in the box, or he'll go swing out to to center field sometimes, and so very, very, very smart player. He's right where he needs to be. Covers really well. He can do it all. He can tackle well. He's very sound tackler. He's just kind of one of those guys that I think the league, GMs and stuff like that, they're probably going to look at him for to kind of bring him on board somewhere. So everyone is kind of arguing among the fan base, do you go out and pay him big money or do you let him go? Because one of the knocks on Cam is his stat box isn't really impressive. Like he doesn't have a lot of INTs, doesn't have a lot of, TFLs, per se. A couple pass breakups, but so fans kind of like that. Well, do I want the guy who's going to pop, or do I want the guy who's going to just kind of be steady Eddie? He's kind of more of a, but for a 7th round pick, you can't ask for much. But like he's killing it, I'm thinking out loud a little bit, but he's probably one of our best, if not better. I mean, we have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne. You can't say he's the best, but he's one of the better players, at least in that secondary. And I like his game a lot. I'm curious what the GM, staff in the future is going to do with him. But I would say that's one player that maybe people don't know that is really interesting.
No, I love to hear it. And when you're talking about a player that's not necessarily a stat stuffer, but is getting it done, it really reminds me of the safety position here in San Francisco for many years, where they had Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tart, 2 guys that I think were underappreciated around the league, especially Ward.
Yeah.
Ward was a Swiss Army knife. I mean, he was brought in to play corner. That was not his position at all. Then he goes to safety. And then last year lost his job due to injury, but then came in and was the nickel cornerback and played fantastic last year for him. A big loss this offseason. It took 5-6 weeks to figure out that position once he was gone. And he's not a guy that puts up big numbers, but 49er fans know how good he is and really, really miss having him here. He's gone to the Texans, kind of helped that defense and D'Amico Ryans gather things and get things going over there. So you don't necessarily have to stuff the stat sheet to be a player that is important to a defense. And it sounds like Cam Curl might be that guy for you.
Yeah, you said it very well. I think he kind of is. I think people will probably miss him when he leaves. You don't know what you got until he's gone, and I think that may end up, that could happen just for certain circumstances outside of this group. But yeah, man, I like his game. I think he should be someone you focus on trying to bring him in. At a minimum, he knows defense. He's very smart. He can line up all over the field. He can line up other people. He can play almost like a safety captain, if you will, on the field with the green dot. He's that kind of that cerebral of a player, and so I enjoy his game. It's just, when you're losing this many games, it's hard to really call out players, because he's like, well, he's on a 4-win team, but it's bigger than him. So I think I would like to see him stick around if we can make it happen.
Yeah, most certainly. That's good. That's a good name. I like it. All right. Well, I'll ask you this, not necessarily about the Commanders, but just the assessment of the league. I know that you're a football fan as well, not just a Commander fan. You know a little bit about what's going on in the league. So I got to ask you, if you've got to make a Super Bowl prediction right now, who are the two teams that you think are going to be in the Super Bowl this year?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. So going into this year, I would have said Kansas versus, I think I had Chiefs, 49ers in the Super Bowl, healthy. My question mark about you guys was Purdy. Like, I didn't realize, it felt like he was still recovering from that shoulder or elbow, excuse me. So I was not like, I just wasn't sure about, where that was going to go. You guys had the Trey Lance thing. That didn't work out. So but it's just a solid team, right? And if it wasn't for the Purdy injury, you guys would have probably been represented in the NFC East. So I went back and felt like, given Purdy's health, it was going to be Kansas City and 49ers. Now that we've seen some warts from Kansas City, I hate to go against Pat Mahomes because he's special in the playoffs, but I'm going to go out on the limb and say Miami versus the 49ers.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Miami. Okay. Side note, I don't know if you caught this on Twitter, and for anybody who may not have seen this is a guy that coached there, was one on that great staff that we were talking about. Mm-hmm. He obviously was here with San Francisco and Mike McDaniel. He's hilarious. He is so quirky and hilarious. Did you see the thing this week where Dan Marino's there and he's sitting there in his gold jacket? Okay, this is good. So he's sitting there in his gold jacket and he's next to Tyreek Hill, Tua, and maybe it's Waddle or somebody like that. Yeah. And Mike McDaniel is positioned behind the three players. And so what happens is they announce Dan Marino, and they're there to basically just applaud him and thank him for being a Miami Dolphin and all these other things, right? And Mike McDaniel's in the back as they're announcing him, and he's like, "Hey, Dan, we're here to break all your effing records. We don't care about your effing records, Dan. We're going to smash them all, Dan. We're here to break your records." It was so funny, man. He just zero chill. Like, he's right behind Dan Marino, and Dan Marino's waving to the crowd, and everybody's cheering him, and he's just talking trash about his records and how this new team is going to break them all. And it was so good, man. It was so
awesome.
funny.
That's awesome. That is awesome, man. Yeah, he got it, man. He is funny, man. I followed him in the trip over to Germany. I think it was Germany, and all that was. Yeah, he is definitely a funny dude for real.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. He really is. Brother Bob says, CeeLo, how does it feel to being a fan of a team that you want to lose?
Do we not remember? Just not that long ago, the 49ers were bad.
I was 2017
right now.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
actually, 2020, the team was good, but they were so injured. And
yeah,
there was a point where we knew the season was lost, and was like, well, I mean, you might as well kind of lose here and get a better draft pick to help them in the future because we know this team can still compete. So I don't think we were there that long ago ourselves, Brother Bob.
yeah, but yeah. Come on
Dave says, so Luke Cage, when do you see a Super Bowl for Washington?
now. 2026.
Oh, I like it. I like it. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. All right.
Give us a little,
Mhm.
head start.
I like it. Cryptic says one thing about the Commanders is you never know what team you're going to get. They have played close games. The Niners need to be focused this week. That I agree. You can't overlook any team. That I agree.
Man, listen, Cryptic. If we had a semblance of a defense, like a semblance of a defense, I'm with you. But our defense couldn't they couldn't stop a nosebleed right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely not. You know, somebody was talking about Sean Taylor up there, and we all know that he was a fantastic player. You know what's interesting though, CeeLo, is the league has changed so much. And I look at the stature of Fred Warner, who's a converted safety himself, and I think to myself, Sean Taylor played today, he would be a linebacker. He would be a linebacker, and he would be the best linebacker in football. He's
Ooh,
the
I like
same
that.
exact size as Fred Warner, same height, same weight, everything. They
Is
are
he really?
identical. Yeah, yes, yes. And we know how athletic Sean Taylor was, man. Could you imagine him playing linebacker in today's game? How crazy that would be.
Damn, I didn't realize that. Wow, Fred looks a little. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. But the way they devalue the linebacker position. What do you? I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously you got Roquan Swift, Smith. You just played
Yeah.
against, and you guys have Fred, but the way that most like 95 teams devalue that position, it's tough to say. Like everyone looks at
Yeah.
obviously corner, safety, in the D line. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. I can see. Yeah, man, I think that kid probably could have played all over the place. I mean, if they really wanted to, they probably could have made asked him to play corner at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude was a freak athlete. But I get what you're saying though. That's a good comp.
You look at Hamilton this last week and where he was. He had out of all of his snaps, he had like 15 where he lined up at outside linebacker, 15 where he lined up in the slot, like 6 where he lined up as safety. And you see the way that they moved him around. That's probably actually what they would do with Sean Taylor. He'd play a lot of the star role, move around a ton, and be all over the place, just wreaking havoc, man. What a hell of a player. Hell of a player, Sean Taylor, man.
Excellent.
He's still missed. Still
Yeah,
missed.
excellent player. Excellent.
All right, man. Listen, I know, like you know, that we're both picking the 49ers, and that's fine. That's fine. But what is the overall prediction? These are always fun because just getting it right sometimes feels good. So what do you think happens this week? And do you think we're looking at a blowout? You think we're looking at a closer game? What's your overall prediction, and how do you see this thing going down on Sunday?
Yeah, I was trying to look at what the spread is and the over,
I think
under.
it's 2 touchdowns. It's very, very, very. It's a bit. Actually, you know what? I'll look at it right now. 49. Actually, yeah, 49ers,
Oh,
Commanders spread.
yeah, spread.
13.5 points.
Okay. So
That's a lot in football. I don't care who you're playing. That's a lot of points. But okay.
I know it's a lot, but it's it's December. Um, you know, this team is about done. They may have even given up to an extent. I would probably take that a little bit over, to be honest with
Okay.
you. I just don't feel. Like I said earlier. Now you're going to have people are excited about the Jacoby thing. Like I think, okay, so now, who do you guys have? Is it Steve Wilkes,
Yes,
coordinator?
Steve
Yes.
Yep.
So Steve, he's going to look at Jacoby. The last couple quarters he played, they're actually going to game plan for Jacoby. So
Yep.
it's not going to be a prevent defense. Jacoby's going to see blitzes. He's going to see stuff he hasn't seen in probably at least a year when he played Cleveland. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shell shock for him. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to come back down to earth. So you're going to have that part and adjusting with EB and that offense. And then you're going to have the defense is just defense to defense, right? I mean, unless they play out of their minds, They're going to get rocked. So yes, I'm 13 points or more is absolutely is going to be what I expect it to be. But I do see Jacoby and EB working together and actually putting up some points. I don't think they're going to be completely bad. I just think that when the 49ers defense is they're locked in, that's you guys are. I think the only weakness you correct me if I'm wrong. The only kind of real weakness you may have a little bit is in your secondary. And so maybe you may see Terry go off a little bit, or Jahan Dotson, our slot receiver, to go off a little bit, or second receiver. So maybe, but I just don't see it happening, man. They're on two separate trajectories as an organization. You know what I'm saying? So
they are.
But it's the NFL, like you said, like any given Sunday, guys, you surprised. So but that's like a very low probability.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal, right? When I look at this, if I had to bet, I would probably bet on the 49ers covering. But it's one of those things where I'm nervous that they don't, 13.5 is a lot in the NFL. It's like when you see these teams in college and it's like, okay, Alabama's favored against some crap team by 60 points. You're like, yeah, of course they're going to cover that. But then when you lay the bet, you're going, 60 points? My 60 God, points? Man. Until they score the 60, you're worried the whole time. Like, man, all it takes is for them to mess up on one drive and it's over. Like, I'm not covering the 60. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I do think that the 49ers do win. I think they win going away, mostly because the offense is going to be able to put up the points. I'm going to say 37-17 49ers win this game, and hopefully resting a little bit early and getting ready for a big game in week 18 against a division rival against the Rams. But yeah, man, I think the 49ers do cover, but if I laid that bet, I wouldn't feel great about it until I actually saw it. So
that's a safe bet. I mean, like, like I would agree with you on that, and plus you guys want to stay healthy. Is Trent Williams playing this year? I mean, this week, or you don't know?
He's questionable. Okay. And but he did practice today on a limited basis. I think that's the biggest thing, really. I mean, what we're looking at here is a game that they should win, but can they stay healthy? That's the game right now. It's the game within the game. You're 2 weeks away from the playoffs. You need to be healthy. You need to be at your best, and that's what we're hoping for. Hopefully, everybody can stay healthy this week. That's really the big win. That's the big win.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you guys got bigger picture situation going on. So you just want to get out of here healthy and with a win versus the opposite. So yeah, I just can't. I cannot see a scenario where the Commanders actually pull out a victory because of the defense. I just in defense, you just can't fix that. Like you're not doing anything to fix that against a Kyle Shanahan offense. So now,
yeah, I mean, I feel good, but I do have to admit that this is similar to when the 49ers lost to the Browns and they were getting ready to play Minnesota. And we knew that who's the really good Jefferson. We knew that Jefferson was out, and it was like, I mean, come on, Minnesota's defense can't stop anybody. Jefferson's out. The 49ers got their wake-up call last week. There's no way they're losing to Minnesota. And then it was like, okay, I guess they just lost to Minnesota. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's not quite that, but there is some of that hesitancy there where it's like, man, I've felt this confident before and it didn't work out too well. So,
I mean, for those that don't know, I mean, so going into this season, I think most fans had the Commanders are like, between 9 and 11 wins. And primarily because remember last year they won, I think they won 8. No, they went like 7 and 7 and 10 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you add EB, you think you have a better quarterback because we had Carson Wentz last year and Heineke, and then you say our defense was top 8 last year. So if they just stay on that trajectory, they drafted Emmanuel Forbes. The logic and the logic would tell you, oh yeah, we could do like 2 more wins, 3 more wins.
Yeah.
The offense is not without talent, so don't sleep. So if I was like an objective fan or an objective like NFL guy, I would want to see, okay, let's see what Jacoby can work with a Terry, a Jahan Dotson, and a Curtis Samuel, and a Logan Thomas, everyone's like the team isn't like banged up, they're healthy. Offensive
Yeah.
line, I mean, I know the offensive line has been shuffled around a little bit, but it don't matter. They're all about the same level. So the team and B Rob, as you said earlier, if he's healthy and if not, Antonio Gibson, he's kind of a decent player. So like the team is not without talent, you know what I'm saying? But the problem is under center. So you don't really see it, you know what I'm saying? But if Jacoby happens to like execute EB's offense,
Yeah.
like watch out. Like it may be a little bit of like you may get nervous in the first quarter. You're like, oh wait a minute, it's 7-0. Why?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that could happen because they got some ballers on that team, man. Don't get me wrong. It's just our quarterback situation is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally fair. And quarterback position is the most important in football. Brother Bob says CeeLo, but I always want my Niners to win though. I mean, okay, but I guess you're a super fan, Bob. I mean, there are times where I'm like, well, I mean, if it's over, we might as well get a better draft pick. I don't know if that means you're not a fan or what, but to me, I can see rooting against them a little bit. Dave says 45-9. Whoever's closest buys lunch for everyone. Good luck getting everybody that was in the chat.
Who's everyone?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've opened this up to the whole internet, by the way. Brother Bob says getting it right. CeeLo got it wrong by fanning for DC. Dave says I forgot about Jacoby. Yeah, man, he's the starter, man. He's the starter. But then he follows it up and says 45-19. Great. God. Brother Bob says CeeLo any given Sunday, but not this Sunday. Y'all are trash. And Dave rounds it out and says, good point. Are new guys playing? Are new guys playing? Are you talking about for them or who? I don't know.
Yeah, I think for the Commanders, there's like very little. Like I said, they're a relatively healthy team. The offensive line, like we lost our center. We actually saw our starting center, Nick Gates, who used to play with the Giants last year. He got demoted for performance, not because of injury. That guy, his backup, got injured, and so he's back in the lineup. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then our left tackle, he is injured, but in my personal opinion, or fan opinion, I think our backup left tackle is better than our starting left tackle. That gives you an idea of the state of the offensive line, by the way. So
not great.
That's why I said, but the team is, other than that, the team is healthy, man. All these Terry, John, like all these guys are healthy. Like, so they do have talent.
Oh, he corrects it and says our new guys. Yeah, I think Sebastian Joseph Day will definitely play. Eric Armstead seems like he's probably going to be out at least until the playoffs. And Sebastian Joseph Day has been a starter his whole career. So I expect that he's probably going to play a lot for the 49ers. If he doesn't start this week, I think he'll definitely start next week. So yeah, most certainly. What do you guys CeeLo, my man. Yeah.
What do you guys think about Chase?
I like Chase. I like Chase from the standpoint that he's not the main focus over here. But he came from a really good defensive line over there, too. Let's not front. I mean, that was a very, very talented front over there. I can also see why you guys were willing to get rid of him for almost nothing. There's some effort things that I question with him. I think he stat chases a little bit instead of doing what's right on some plays, and that can be frustrating. But as a rotational piece, good. I'm definitely not paying him big money next year, though, if I'm the 49ers. So
maybe approve a deal or something like that.
Yeah, you know what I see for Chase, to be real with you, CeeLo? I see a similar career to what you've seen for why am I drawing a blank on his name? The 49ers just played him. Number 20.
Jadeveon
Clowney. That's exactly what I see. A bunch of one-year deals in his future, a hired gun type of situation, and he'll have a good career. He'll get paid a lot of money. And I think those one-year deals, much like it's done for Clowney, will keep him motivated. I think that's actually probably the best thing for him, because what I see from him is sometimes a little bit of the lack of a motor type of thing. So I don't know.
No, I'm just curious. Yeah.
Do you agree with my assessment? You watched him a lot. Do you feel the same way?
If we would have kept him, because we didn't pick up his 5th-year option.
Yeah.
And so something was happening. I agree with you. He, coming back from that knee injury, I just felt like he never quite recovered in a way that you saw him get back to his rookie year. He was defensive player. I mean, he was rookie defensive player of the year.
Yeah, great.
So the guy actually has some talent. I just think that post injury, something is not there yet. And so I don't know about, effort or he's playing, in a weird, some interesting positions. I felt like we didn't, we should have moved him around. I had some personal suggestions for him, but that aside, I thought he would be exactly what you said. He's going to end up getting these 1-year deals. It's too early to really give him a big deal. So offer him a 1-year laden, incentive laden deal, see how it goes. And then maybe the following year he gets a bigger deal, or he just keeps doing those 1-2-year deals. And like you said, he'll make plenty of money and go off in the sunset. This is already, first round money, second overall pick. He's already made a lot of money. So I like Chase. Again, another DC guy. He went to, very famous school here, DeMatha High School. Very, very popular in the area. So it was a very, very interesting way that whole thing unraveled,
Yeah, most certainly. Brother Bob says, nails, recall how we did with the number 1 pick in Alex Smith. Yeah, I get what you're saying. No pick is a for sure home run, but you still want a higher pick. The worst place you can be is New Orleans Saints are a great example. Bro, the New Orleans Saints are a great example of this, where they think they're competing, but they're really not competing. And so they're always going to either just barely make the playoffs or just barely miss the playoffs. And they're always going to be around pick 15. That is the worst place you want to. You either want to be really, really good or really, really bad. That in-between stuff, especially for long periods of time, is the worst place to be as a franchise, because you're always kind of just there. So if you're not good that year and you're not going to make the playoffs, you might as well root to be the worst team so you can get higher picks.
Or take the pick, parlay it into mini picks, right?
Exactly. Yes.
That builds your team as well. So at least no one's looking for the 15th pick, right? I mean, it's just, but everyone's looking for that top 5 pick, and GMs are desperate, all on owners or whatever. So I agree with you, man. You got to either be really bad or like just, on the cusp, right? And plus New Orleans even had they were like above over the cap all the time. It's a bad situation in New Orleans. So that's a great example.
Yeah, most definitely. CeeLo, thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it. This was definitely on late notice. We had a little bit of a switch, but from the same network, essentially, Red Zone and the Lab Network. Basically, you can check them out on YouTube. They're all from the same family, but we had a host switch at the end, and CeeLo's been gracious enough to give us an hour of his time. I appreciate you. Everybody in the chat, you can go follow him on Twitter at Crazy816. You can go follow the channel at Red Zone in the Lab. Check them out. They're doing some good things over there. Everybody in the chat, I'll be back tomorrow with Coach and Larry. And Brother Bob's got one for the way out. He says, well, DC has been bad since the Hogs days 40 years ago. All right. God, he just has zero chill. Brother Bob has zero chill, man. Zero freaking
I love it.
Chill.
I love it.
All right, y'all. Have a blessed night. We'll talk soon. Peace.